I'd like to introduce our morning's presenter. She is a passionate world adventurer, a humanitarian, and explorer, and she is president of Spalding University of Louisville, Kentucky. Tori Murden McClure is the chair of the Board of Trustees for the National Outdoor Leadership School and is best known as the first woman and first American to row solo across the Atlantic Ocean. She has dared to do many great things, and today she will tell us just how important it is for us to dare mighty things. Thank you, and welcome, Tori.
Well, it's come to my attention that not all of you are from around here. And if you're not from around here, I understand some of you imbibed in our bourbon last evening, and it wasn't the students, it was the board members. Young people, let this be a lesson to you. And for the young people who are here at 8:15 on a Saturday morning, you are very strange. I thought we'd start with a short video, since I'm guessing most of you have never heard of me. And it's about my failed attempt to row a boat across the Atlantic Ocean, and then I'll come back and talk to you after that. Okay, so, thank you. So there are a couple errors in the video. It's Inside Edition after all. And I'm going to get into those later in my talk, but I just want to talk about that 85 days alone at sea as a record. It's a record of dubious merit, as I proved the following year. I went back and rowed across the Atlantic in 81 days. If you row fast, it doesn't take 85 days to cross an ocean. So I just needed to point that out before moving on. I am not an engineer. I am a university president. I'm an administrator. I'm just your average, mild-mannered university administrator who took a rowboat across the Atlantic Ocean. Now, I'm going to stick to the podium today, and I'm a little disappointed in this podium. Academics like to hide behind podiums, and if you can spend 3 months alone in a rowboat, you're an introvert. And so I like to hide behind podiums, and you engineers went and made a glass one. What's up with that? I'd like the big wood ones. That way, if the room flips upside down and fills up with water, I have something to hold on to. This is very disconcerting, this thing. So on Thursday, 2 days ago, I had the honor of speaking at Smith College on an education summit. It was not an engineering thing, but Smith does have a school of engineering. And any Smithies here today? We'll get here. We will, I promise. So I was a trustee at Smith, and we started our School of Engineering, and the faculty, you would have thought we had done something really horrid. We started a School of Engineering, and there was this stampede of, we're abandoning the liberal arts, oh, the horror. I'm like, I just didn't get it as a trustee. I said, okay, let me get this straight. Chemistry, physics, calculus, these are liberal arts, but thermodynamics is not. I just didn't get it. I don't know. And then I thought about, all right, where did we get the liberal arts from? And it's all Plato's fault, right? All of it. Everything wrong with the world belongs to Plato. Okay, Socrates taught Plato, Plato taught Aristotle, Aristotle taught Alexander the Great. It is their fault. Plato's Academy taught the sons of kings, right? Plato's Academy did not teach stone cutting. They didn't teach stone cutting because it was a slave-based society. They had slaves to cut the stones, right? So they taught the sons of kings to use their minds, and they taught the slaves to use their hands. And from then on, we've had the sense that if you use your brains, you are better than, and you are good, and you are true, and you are fine. And if you use your hands, you are somehow less than and bad. And this is all very strange to me. So here we are in the modern era, still separating ourselves into thinkers and people who use their hands, and you engineers do both, and that puzzles us. It really upsets us. Okay, in the academy, there has been this adoration of the left brain, right? If it's linear and rational and clear and can be, charted out, it's good. And if it's right brain and ethereal and sort of, uses the hands, it must be bad. All right, now we've entered an era where you engineers have figured out how to best all those left brain people. You've created software that makes the left brain moot. The left brain can now be outsourced to Mumbai. With the help of computers, even an idiot right brain person can do all these left brain functions by the press of a button. So where are we now? Well, we need people like you who can use both their left brains and their right brains. Now, I'm convinced that in our love of the liberal arts, we are creating useless people. I don't much like useless people. And when I think of useless people, I don't remember whether it was Robert Falcon Scott or Robert Byrd, but one of the Antarctic explorers was really very much part of this upstairs-downstairs culture. And this explorer, whether it was Robert Falcon Scott or Robert Byrd, I didn't look up this morning, but one of you can go wiki it and let me know in 10 minutes. One of the gentlemen who worked for the guy said he would have starved to death in a grocery store. Now, how many college graduates in a Katrina situation or a situation in Japan would know how to purify water? It's a pretty basic skill when it comes right down to it, just like feeding oneself in a grocery store. But we think that teaching skills like that would be bad. So in my response to all this left brain, right brain, liberal arts stuff, I signed up to take a welding class. Okay? Now, because for a university president to take a welding class, this is liberal arts. I'm not going to use welding to make a living, therefore it's liberal arts. That is my definition of liberal arts. Now imagine my horror when I get to chapter 2 of modern welding and I start to read about silicon-controlled rectifiers. My left brain went to Smith College. My left brain went to divinity school at Harvard. My left brain went to law school at the University of Louisville. My left brain has a Master's of Fine Arts in Writing from Spalding University. My left brain had never heard of a silicon-controlled rectifier. My left brain was thinking, but I'm smart. My right brain's thinking, get over your bad self, dear. Right? So then I go to Radio Shack. I get the novel, Getting Started in Electronics, and I read about silicon-controlled rectifiers, and I'm all set now. You know, you got your semiconductor, you got the silicon, you got the boron on one side, you got the phosphorus on the other side, all that doping stuff. Got it, I'm set. Whew. So, what is this liberal arts stuff anyway? You all go out into the real world, and you do real things with your hands. You use your brains for the best possible things. Who knew there were this many idealistic engineers in the world? That's fabulous. So I do have a recommendation for some of you who really go out into deep backcountry. The National Outdoor Leadership School teaches a course in wilderness first response. It is a wonderful basic first aid course. Now, in this last bastion of liberal arts versus practical knowledge, I'm an emergency medical technician, because you know how many of us have seen an automobile accident? Virtually all of us have seen an automobile accident. Now, my liberal arts education, I could stand there and quote Shakespeare. Richard II would seem appropriate. Let's sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the deaths of kings. You know, or we could get in there and stop the bleeding. So I'm all for that practical knowledge. I think there are generally 3 ways of interacting with the world. There are those who sit by and watch adventures happen. These are the mall muffins of the spectator society. And while this might be superior to sitting around pulling the wings off of flies, I am not entirely sure. There's a second category in which I place myself. There are those who have adventures. And if you're engineers, you have adventures. You probably blow things up from time to time. But there's a third category to which I aspire. And from the stories I've heard this morning, I know some of the board members fit into this category. There are those who are adventurers. Now, one of the first women to climb Mont Blanc was a woman named Henrietta d'Angeville. And I know that dear old Henrietta was an adventurer because she climbed Mont Blanc wearing a feather boa. You go, girl. She did that because she wanted the men seated in the lodge at the base of the mountain to see her make it all the way to the top. That's all about it. Being an adventurer is about plowing old ground in new ways, and that when we reach the fences that limit us, we jump over them and explore new ground. Leaping fences and exploring new ground is what Engineers Without Borders is all about. Now, I have done my fair share of leaping fences. I went to divinity school at Harvard. It's kind of a challenging place. The divinity cancels the Harvard cancels the divinity, and one ends up in an existential void. And if you want a definition of the existential void, okay, in Kentucky, you'll see folks driving down the road with that bumper sticker that says, "Honk if you love Jesus." Well, 2 days ago in New England, I was headed for Smith College, and somebody passed me, and the bumper sticker said, "Honk if you don't exist." And I thought, that's a Harvard grad.